Hello, one and all, and welcome. My name's Fear. This is Battle Vortex, the mansion that I live in, the world that is new. So, today, decided to do a little bit of a crow talk. Crow talk. We're going to talk about some Crowfall. I know. If I will bet right now that somebody will come in here and say, but everybody's playing blah, blah, blah. They're playing. What are they playing? Oh, new. They're attempting. I'm sorry. Attempting to play a new world this weekend, which is great because that's a perfect weekend for us to talk about Crowfall in peace without a lot of trolls coming on. So I'm going to go over some of the highlights from the September Crowfall Ace Q&A. Last month, actually, I can't watch it at work because my work has Twitch blocked. So I can't. I have to. I didn't even know about it till it came out on YouTube. So fortunately, I got to see that. Yeah. So and then we're going to talk a little bit about small scale stuff for small guilds and solo players and UI guild stuff, things like that. So we're going to talk about all that, maybe even some of the test stuff that I'm going to check out. We're going to get into all that. But first, before we do that, I think I have an intro for Crowfall. I do. All right. So hopefully you guys heard that. I don't have it. I don't have it echoing back to me. So in any event, here we'll look at it we'll look at it from the game perspective, so you guys can see what's going on, where I'm at. Let's go to game. There, and then we get a little background, we get a little music going on, little ambiance, stuff like that. So let's see what I wanted to talk about. All right. So I guess I'm starting off on a darker note. This game, and I'm just being honest here, this game is very punishing. It's almost even more than I can put up with, and I am like, I love a challenge. I do. But maybe it's cuz I'm getting older or whatever. But man, this game's punishing, man. It's just killing me. I think it fosters a lot of bad feels. You know what I mean? It's hard to get, especially in my own guild, it's hard to get them to get excited about going out and doing stuff. Like I said, a lot of them still are, having that fear of, they should just call it the FOD, the fear of death. Even in areas like Sky Point, which is like, you won't even lose anything but gold, and we're not even going to be picking up any gold. So I'm not sure where that fear is coming from, but that's a fear, nevertheless. I do have some guildies that'll go out, and we've been out into the dregs and stuff. The speaking of the dregs, okay, so I've explained this before, but you basically have Crowfall is set up more like a. I mean, to me, it seems like it's set up for like a. You ever go to the place and go, where they have the paint guns and you do paintball wars with each other? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like, okay, we want to set up a war. Let's just set up a war, and it's more like an event system than it really is like a. The world part needs some work. Like we need to feel like we're in a world. So like now I'm in my kingdom here, and I'm just looking out there, and yeah, it feels kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a world here, but you can't really do anything here except for visit the world. You can have storage, stuff like that. You can build nice houses, make a pretty thing, and you can make things and do things. One of the biggest challenges I have that I find is really challenging is that the um okay, so when you're in the world, you're in your eternal kingdom. That is directly connected to the that's directly connected to God's Reach, which is a place that's basically a training ground, but it's also kind of it can actually work really well for a lot of players that don't want to engage in this bigger event stuff, right? So they have God's Reach, which encompasses the Lunarium, the Solarium, the Arboreum, and Sky Point. So those 4 places right there, that's great training grounds, not only for doing the tutorial, which I'll get to that in a minute, the tutorial, but you can also learn things there. The one thing that it's kind of lacking in though is it's kind of lacking in how to do the actual sieges and how you put together. I have not, and maybe this is in the tutorial, but I've not gotten that far. I only went up to 30 and then stopped. But they don't. I mean, they kind of show you how to shoot a gun and how to do this and how, but I don't think there's anything that really teaches you, well, how the hell do I get the parts to make the thing, and sometimes you can't even make stuff until you have a certain level of discipline, which is another thing. Disciplines, everybody calls them discs, and I spent a good part of my first days trying to figure out what is a disc and how do you get one. That was a challenge. That was a real challenge for me. And it took several, we watched several videos. We watched some Marquee Dragon streams and looked on the internet, but nobody's talking about this stuff. Nobody's documenting this stuff because it's all taken for granted. A lot of people that play the game now, they've been playing, since the alpha, the beta, the whatever, and they all take all this stuff for granted. So for new people, it's like, and I mean, I wasn't new. I had played before, but all I played for was the battles, the actual battles. You come in, you grab a weapon, you grab some armor, you go running out there, and you shoot other people. That part of the game is really fun. But unfortunately, when you get into this, you can actually look into getting all that stuff, but it takes an absorbent amount of time. I mean, I'd almost just rather have leveling, because it's, at least that makes sense. Because when you get to level 30, you're not really at the end game. You're just at the game. I mean, so why did we bother even going to 30? There's no point to me in my head. Now I'm just thinking as someone, plays the game, doesn't understand some of this stuff. Obviously, I didn't follow the game super closely for several years because I just, frankly got tired of testing the same thing over and over. I mean, it seemed to work. Let's put it out. Let's see what happens. But one of the challenge that I was speaking on before is that the EK is kind of more or less directly connected to God's Reach. So it's a very easy transition to go back and forth. When you want to go out to the Shadow or you want to go out to the Dregs, then you suddenly have locked yourself in to something. It makes it feel like kind of a prison, to be honest with you, because you don't want it to be too short or people won't have fun. You don't want it to be too long because other people won't have fun. And I'm sure there's everything in between where no matter what you do, somebody's going to say, it was too long, it was too short, it wasn't hot enough, there's too much winter, whatever it is. There's always going to be a complaint. But, when you go to the Shadow or Dregs, which are the closer to the circle, the center, and then you will see that your bank vault is no longer directly connected to your main bank vault. So you have these other bank vaults and you have to transfer those items to your main bank account. Now, some worlds charge you for that. For not real money, but like points. They give you points, a certain number of points. So you have a certain number of points to get into the world. You have a certain number of points to get out of the world. And like right now, the one I'm playing doesn't have that. But I know Marquee Dragon said that may not always be the case. I don't think it should ever be the case. I think you should, be able to just transfer your stuff back home anytime you want, because it does help smaller guilds that we can transfer things from one vault back to another. And actually, if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, I can actually kind of show that. Now, this isn't fixed yet where you can log out of the EK in 1 second, but I'm looking forward to that change. And here, I'm going to hold on. Just give me a sec here. We got 5 seconds to go, and then we can get back to the vaults. So let me just kind of give you a visual what I'm talking about here. When you're okay, we just enter. When you're in here, okay, this is kind of the lobby area. when you're at the lobby, you have this tab up here called vaults. Now, anywhere you're visiting right now, or anywhere you've gone to, right, you have a vault for that. And each vault will tell you how many points you have to take things in. And you can't take gold, but you can take like items you can wear and tools sometimes. And then how much it's going to cost you to get things out. Right now, that's infinite. And I think that's perfect. You know, I'm not so thrilled about the fact that I have a separate vault, but I guess in a way it's okay. You can move things around, but it gets a little confusing because you're trying to figure out, okay, well, I need to log in. This character is over here. Like if you get in there and you want to take your character out of the dregs or the shadow, you sacrifice any rewards you would have gotten at the end. Okay. Some people don't care about that. I've got guildies that are like, yeah, I don't care. I wasn't going to get anything anyway, whatever. But it is nice to go in there because they have better things you could pick up at the beginning. And which is kind of funny because Shadow, to me, is a much better place for smaller guilds than Dregs is. Because Dregs, it's like Dregs is a nightmare because it's guild versus guild instead of, faction versus faction. And it's like, I don't know any of those guilds or who they are or, what they stand for or what they're doing there or, why, do I want to even take their stuff or whatever? I mean, I don't know. There's just there's no way to know all these things without, really like getting into people's business, trying to figure out what's this guild and who are they, and then looking them up and then trying to find the guild leader and asking them questions or whatever. It's stuff that doesn't happen. I'm just I'm just spitballing here. So they do that. So basically, I have these two other vaults here, and by the end of tomorrow night, Sunday night is when these events will be over, and I'll be able to take everything home. Like the shadow one, I have a lot more stuff. And you see a lot of it's blue and stuff. You can't easily get blue stuff in God's Reach. But you can in the Shadow and the Dregs. And the blue stuff, since none of my guys yet, including me, can make armor, and this brings up another thing, we have to, pick up what we can. So we just pick up what we can and we fight in what we can. And, we help other, especially in Shadow, we go out and help other faction members. If they get into trouble, we try to help them, whatever it is. Or, maybe they do the same for us. I don't know. We don't expect that in return, but we do that ourselves. So with that in mind, that's kind of one of my challenges, is the fact that there's this disconnect between God's Reach and the other worlds because of this bank system. Now, I know this bank system is tried to be done in fairness or whatever, but is it though? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would say that some of the larger guilds, it doesn't take them but a hot minute to have everybody up to speed with everything they need. And they can come in there with their legendary or epic discs, and then, very easily get what they need. And, so for a new player, that's not going to be as easy for you. As a matter of fact, it took me quite a while in the Shadow to really kind of get a grip on how I could be helpful there, because otherwise I would just stay over in God's Reach. There's no reason for me to come out of there. There's nothing I need to fight for. You know what I mean? I've got what I want. I've got a kingdom. I never have to fight for that. Okay, so we're good. I mean, doing all that stuff is fun, but like I said, it's more like a paintball outing, where you're like, hey, let's all go do paintball this weekend, and then we all go, yeah, let's go kill people. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't really feel like a world. And I'll just, just as an aside, I'll tell you another reason why it doesn't feel like that. Okay, so like the enemy in this game is the hunger. All we know, this guy over here. You guys see that guy? That's the hunger. Okay, but what is the hunger? Is it sentient? What I don't understand is why are we fighting each other for scraps of worlds that are disappearing if all the worlds are eventually going to disappear? Doesn't that include ours? The one we're at? Doesn't that include God's reach? I mean, what are the gods doing? Why are they fighting each other? Why are they mad at each other? I mean, somebody killed Gaia, the mother of all whatever. Why are they mad at each other? Or why are they making us go fight? I don't know. I don't get it. I'm still confused by this. Are you confused? I'm confused by this. Is anybody else confused by this? I'm confused by this. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong camera. So I thought I heard. I guess I didn't. Thought I heard Kitty. Sorry. So anyway, yeah. So the dregs really is just too much. Is just too much. Like I said, if you choose your world, you can go to the starting world, which is actually just God's Reach. And then you got your factions, then you got your guild versus guild, which is where the dregs is. I just don't understand why we don't get to fight this thing. You know? We never fight the actual don't we want to know who killed the goddess of all? Don't we want to know? I want to know. I want to kill him. If it takes everybody, the whole game, we have to go kill him. So this was a little idea. So this is another aside. Because I like asides. I have a lot to talk about with Crowfall. I was thinking, probably silly of me, but I was thinking at the end of a campaign, rather than the world just dying, is that there could be an event where this ridiculously hard to kill mob, let's call him the hunger boss, comes out and everybody's got to kill that dude. And if they do kill him, maybe the world goes back to spring. You know what I'm saying? Maybe everything gets better. Now, maybe that's not the top guy, the hunger boss. There's still another guy. We got to figure out how to kill him because we don't want him to keep destroying our worlds, right? That's what I think. But, to each their own, right? So, anyway, I've just been having some challenges with some of this and wanted to bring them to my own attention because I'm the only one here right now. So, okay. All right, so I'm going to enter my kingdom again. The next thing I had on my list. Okay, in the Ace Q&A for September 21, Blixtev said that they don't want to expand the EMs or Sky Points, so basically God's Reach. They want you to move on to Shadow or Dregs, and I think that's kind of. I mean, I love Blixtev. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's a little bit short-sighted because a lot of people will play in God's Reach if there was enough to do there. And then the other thing I was thinking was like, well, if they're not going to expand that, how are they going to expand the game with new content? How are we ever going to get new content? Are they just going to keep releasing mounts and clothing? I mean, I know they're working on some kind of a skin thing or whatever, and that's all well and good. Okay, I have no problem with that. But, I mean, come on, man. You got to get, even, I don't care what game it is, all games, even Black Desert or whatever, they come out with new outfits. And we all buy the outfits or whatever. You buy them, give them away, make them work for them, whatever. But, can we how are we going to do that if the world's just going to stay the same? God's Reach is kind of, to me, is like the Britannia of Ultima Online. That's where people go. They take their mounts. They take their cool items. They go in. They flex with them. That's part of the world. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't get to play in Britannia a lot as a Dreadlord, but I had other characters, and I would go in there with them, and I would watch people show off how they dyed their clothes, and then when we got like neon colors and all this, everybody freaked out. But people were running around with neon swords and shit. It was cool. I mean, it was funny and cool, but at the same time. But I think that, when you're talking, like, I know Tyrant has said on many occasions, like, play the game you want to play. Well, for me, being retired, and I'll be honest with you, I can't really do that heavy-duty PvP stuff anymore for a couple of reasons. One is my skill in that area has waned a lot in 30, 40 years. But the the thing is, I like God's Reach. I think it's just fine. I mean, if it just had more to do, we'd just play there. I mean, we know it takes longer to do everything. We don't care. When we need better gear, we just go get it. From where the shadow or the dregs or whatever. I think it should be an extension, like the that what how, what they did is they built the game backwards. Okay, they built the game from the end, and now they're coming back to the beginning, and that's kind of why things are the way they are. They focused a lot on end game. Boom, yes, we've got a great end game for many players that like to play that way, but now we need a gameplay for people that don't want to play that way. Like I said, with me, I have, I can't, I got to like work on things like blood pressure, things like that. Those kind of fights for me cause a heck of a lot of anxiety and stress. Okay. Be that whether I get into it that much or whatever, but when you're trying to stay alive against an opponent that moves really fast, and does weird stuff, you don't even know what it is yet. It makes your adrenaline go up, and the adrenaline rush was great, when I was younger, but it's not so great anymore. I kind of like the little more, laid back areas of like God's Reach and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying they need to change anything for me. I'm just saying that this is what I believe that other people would be interested in as well. The only real sticking point for a lot of people that I know is just the full. Nobody wants uh, full loot drops, which I don't blame them. That really does suck. I mean, I remember I used to talk to crafters all the time in Ultima Online, and they would almost be in tears because they'd worked, for hours trying to get all this ore and stuff, and they'd have a pack mule and a bunch of guys like me would come along and just wipe them out and take all their stuff. That does suck. Okay, that's punishing. That's why I think that's kind of why games stopped doing that a long time ago, because there are so many people. I love that there's a game for the niche, but I'm just saying, I think too the other part of Crowfall is that it needs to generate revenue, and I think it's going to generate more revenue in the God's Reach area. Now, you're obviously going to have your whales that are going to want to go up and rule the dregs and rule the shadows. Okay, that's fine, but not everybody wants to rule that much. You know what I'm saying? Not every single player in the game wants to do that. So that's one of the things I conflicted with on what Blixtev said. You can do everything you need to do in God's Reach. It just takes longer, and the drop rate's kind of the same. But it's just lesser stuff. But you can still make better stuff out of the lesser stuff. So eventually you'll have all good stuff. It's like my friends right now, they crack me up, my guild members, because they want to get everything to legendary and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, why do you need legendary gear if you're not going to go fight with it on? That's the whole point of getting that. If you max your character out at 35 with, don't get me started on graveyards, but I'm going to get started on graveyards. If you max your character out to 35 and you wear all legendary gear, why the hell would you not go play in the dregs or in the shadow? Because you would be like almost a god there, You would be very strong, you know what I'm saying? But that's not what they're looking for. They just want the stuff. And so I think about that, and I'm thinking about, oh yeah, so they don't want to get it because they want to fight with it. They want to get it just because they like to have shiny stuff. And that's what we do in a lot of games is, we'll compete with each other to see who's got the biggest ships in Elite Dangerous, or who's got the best gear in DayZ, or who's got this or who's got that, or who can build the biggest towers, stuff like that. So I get it, but I also understand that really, if you're all legendaried out, you should be out fighting because you'd probably do better. Skill wise, you're still going to have some issues, but telling you right now, if you're all geared out, you're gonna hit good. You're gonna hit well. So anyway, it won't make you the best PvPer, but it'll sure help a lot. It'll sure make that death less painful if you have gear that can withstand, a lot of punishment. I mean, because you're gonna have durability and all that kind of thing. So anyway, that's just my thought about that. So I made a joke about it earlier, but yeah, I know New World's out now, and a lot of people were saying, oh, this is what Crowfall should have been, and blah blah blah. But now, New World changed their system so that there is no more full loot drops and all that. And I think PvP is now only consensual. Like you actually have to flag yourself as PvP. So I don't think if they were really truly hardcore and they really like PvP, they're not going to be happy with New World, and they'll be back. I mean, that happens all the time. I'm not worried about that game. That game, I'm not even playing it because I know I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't really care about Spanish conquistadors anyway. I don't really care about big giant companies. Excuse my thousands of walls I have in my bag there. But I don't really care about all that. It's like EVE Online. I could never get into EVE Online either because there's just no way for solo players to really thrive there. And it's like crafting in Crowfall. EVE is very complicated. I think EVE is probably still the most complex game there is that I know of. And it's just too much for me. I can't spend that kind of seat time anymore, man. My old bones just can't take it. I can't do the 12-hour straight play now. I have to get up and walk around and go do stuff and take care of the kitty, whatever, give her some food. She'll be out here pretty soon for some food, but yeah, and I did mention this before. I have it in my notes as well, which is good. But I do like the fact in the God's Reach, you can bounce back and forth between the EK and God's Reach real easily. If I get a bunch of stuff in God's Reach, I can take it back to the EK, blah, blah, blah. I can actually access the EK vault from there. The only challenge is, if you got stuff in these other vaults, you got to move it to that one, your EK vault, stuff like that. So basically, yeah, that's where I'm at there. I was hoping one of my buddies would jump in today so I could bounce some things off of him, but so I'm still seeing a lot of, the mindset. The mindset is, hey, this game's better with friends and blah, 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 blah. That's great, but it should also be viable for people with no friends. Okay, I'm just saying, not everybody's got this big giant group of friends. I mean, I've been on the internet for a gazillion years, and I've only got like 4 or 5 people that'll come play this game with me. So now what? Because I can't stream, 30 hours, 40 hours a week and try to build these, relationships with a bunch of people. So I just think it needs to be viable. Yeah, the other thing is I hear a lot is that, people are like, oh, just get up to 30, come out and fight. And it's like that's not true. You're not going to know nothing about nothing when you're at 30. You're going to be just like, what the hell's going on here, Earl? I don't know. Okay. I mean, it literally, I've got a whole group of guys that are way smarter than I am, and they struggle too. And then I think, well, damn, if they struggle like this, then I can imagine an average player just like hating life, as we know it, because you have to go through a lot. But so my plan going forward is I'm going to go check out on the test server. I'm going to check out the new player stuff, and when I do check it out, I'm going to report back what I think about that, or what I think needs to be different, or what needs to be a little bit adjusted, whatever. And hopefully they'll other people will agree with me. That's one thing that's hard for me is I find these issues crazy, but well, it's obvious that we need to do this differently or that differently or whatever. And then, getting other people to get on board with that, it takes a lot of work for me to get them to even get people to see outside the blinders of it's a PvP game. That's all they. Oh, what? No, it can't. No, it's a PvP game. I still can't see over there. It's a PvP game, guys. And so I'm trying to do that. So I'm trying to get people, and actually, a lot of my guild mates aren't totally against most of what I'm telling them. So, and they give me their tips as well. There's something they were telling me. I can't remember. There's something where the crafting is something's going on with the crafting, and I can't remember what they said because I didn't know what they were talking about. But they're going on and on about the crafting and how it needs to be this way or that way, to where they can do multiple things at a time and stuff like that, which is true. That's pretty true in any game where crafting. But see, the thing is too with the crafting is, are there how many real hardcore crafters are there in the world, and do they ever speak up? Do they even feel like they have a voice? Because it's a PvP game, and we can't talk about that. Nope. Did that have to do with PvP? What does this have to do with Shadowbane? That's right. That's where they're at. Probably. I don't know. I try to find these things out, but it takes an incredibly long time with Crowfall. It's documentation. There's tons of documentation, but a lot of it has to do with testing and ideas and things like that. And nobody should have to go through a frickin' novel, Gone with the Wind novel this thick, to try and figure out how to play their game. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just a little bit too much. That's just a little bit. This room is totally empty, but it's a little too much. So, ooh, there's a castle over there. So, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm gonna go. I've been working on the EK. I got to redesign this area. That's why it's all empty. But I got things to work on. I got things to work on. So in any case, if you have any comments about what I said today, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below the video, or leave it in the chat system, wherever you can put it. And do me a favor, if you don't like the video today, can you tell me why you don't like the video? I really hate that when people leave a dislike and then they don't tell me what's wrong, what they disagreed with, because I'm all about having a conversation. I mean, not everything I do or say is like, the gospel. It's not set in stone. It's the way I feel about it. And if there's a reason why I shouldn't feel that way about it, hey, let me know. I'd be glad to listen to what you have to say. So that's all I got for today, guys. Really. I mean, I'd love to have more, but I don't. We'll wait and see what happens after I do the testing thing. And I'll let you guys know what's up as soon as I know. But until then, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And we will talk to you again very soon.